you for inviting me here. It's a true pleasure. Um, I mean, a little bit different, obviously, this year, but yeah, truly honored of this invitation and to take you guys through some of the learnings I'll be having in this quite peculiar year that is 2020. And I'm here today to talk about seeing the glass half full, so seeing the positive side on all of this that is happening. And yeah, have go about being optimist in the middle of all of this. So yeah, today I'll be talking about the importance of optimism in the middle of this mess that we are going through. As people, obviously, but I'll focus today on what that means today, what that means nowadays for us as communication people. So I think like this pandemic was a bit of a wake-up call on for the advertising industry and its relevance. The world is in a very poor shape at the moment, and you can, as an advertising professional, you can ask yourself like almost every single day, are we relevant in all of this? Do we have any role to play in the middle of this situation? Well, at first sight, it just doesn't seem so. But if someone asked me, in the future, what did you actually do in 2020? I didn't want my answer to look like something like this, I resigned the logo so there was more space between the things in the logo, Our industry, that is supposed to be culturally relevant, but in the middle of a pandemic, I think we all seen that there was this trend of separating logos, so there was more space between the letters or the signs. There's an Instagram account actually called Corona Alliance that made a compilation of these kind of ridiculous ads that happened during that time. So I think this actually happened for a reason. We're so disconnected in a way from our reason to be here as communicators that we kind of forgot an essential part of our jobs. And that is, advertising is persuasion, it's in its more purest and rawest form. Can we use it maybe, today to persuade people that, there might be a silver lining in all of this? Like enough of piano music and empty streets, there must be something positive that we can communicate, that we can all learn about all of this. Because truth is, the world is actually craving some sort of optimism. I think that's actually the reason why this guy went crazy viral a couple of weeks ago. I think because he's basically reminding all of us on how the world was before all of this, happened. A happier place, a place where you can actually just enjoy yourself by drinking ocean spray with an amazing song, I think what this means, this guy going crazy viral, is like the world and people want to feel a little bit more positive and want to have a different, have some sort of relief and maybe just connect with the more positive side of things. I mean, for the negative side, we have the news, right? So communication might have a role in all of this, right? We have great skills. We can tell stories. We have the tools. So maybe we could use them to bring some optimism when now is needed the most. Because truth is, throughout history, plagues have always driven change. These type of experiences change our lives, for sure. It would change it now and in the future. Obviously, we have repercussions in the future. The pandemic is going to cause an immense pain and suffering. This is seeing the glass half empty. But it will also force us to in a way, reconsider who we are and what we value. And in the long run, it could help us rediscover a better version of ourselves. This is seeing the glass half full. But the problem is you can only change if you're open to it. And being open right now, literally speaking, is difficult. Things are just not open. We are not open. There are negative repercussions on what the lockdowns have in all of us psychologically. Truth is, when we are in lockdown mode, we shut down. But as countries, but as people too. And that makes fear, in a way, win. Whether we want it or not, we've been forced to be confined in our own houses, in our own countries, in our own realities. And that has a super negative impact in the long term on what this means to the world. I think the biggest victim in all this crisis will be division between people, but also between countries and nations. We're starting to look at each other in a very different way, and seeing each other as enemies. Who has the right lockdown approach? The Swedish, the Dutch, the Italians. There has been a lot of conversations about almost like trying to make ourselves enemies in all of this. We actually seeing this right now in the Netherlands, when our approach to lockdown has been so criticized by everyone. It's like, because we're shutting down, when we're forced to live one reality, that creates division naturally. All fueled, obviously, by Facebook, Twitter, and all of that. I was reading this study on the impact of COVID-19 on the European future. And I thought it was super interesting. I never actually thought about that, that it actually has a huge impact on what we know as Europe. Now we face populism with a fresh purpose and motivation, COVID-19. The coronavirus has exposed the fragilities of open borders between states, and far-right populist leaders have left an opportunity to push the autocratic agenda. The idea of creating more physical borders to lessen the effects of future pandemics is an attractive proposal, and indeed one that is likely to resonate with many voters. So, literally, not being open as people, as nations, is posing a threat on the world as we knew it. It sounds quite scary, right? But I told you today I was actually going to talk about positive things. So here I go. How do we come out of this mess? I mean, this is like the $1 million question. How do we come out of all of this? And I think there's only one answer for this. We need to come out better. Now more than ever, there has to be a silver lining in all of this, and it's on all of us to find it. So I had the opportunity to work on the post-Wave One Coca-Cola campaign after going actually they went dark on the communication for a couple of months. So I worked for Coca-Cola, and when the crisis hit, they stopped all the advertising and they diverted those funds for COVID relief initiatives. But after 3 or 4 months of being dark, they came to us with a brief of like, okay, what do we say now? As a brand that always, is optimistic, a little bit naive sometimes, and has a history of coming back with a very bold message after difficult times in history, like, for instance, Hilltop after the Vietnam War. What do we say? What do we do in all of this? And this was actually our starting point. We need to come out of this better, and it's all of us. It's in all of us for the first time ever to make it happen. This mess must be leading to something better, and this was actually our starting point. Is 2020 really cancelled, or maybe is it the opportunity, that we all collectively, learn from all of this, and if we actually stay open to change, instead of resisting it, instead of like always looking at the past and always looking at what we miss, what if we just see the silver lining in all of this and flip the meaning of the new normal? Which, is the elephant in the room, like the world is not going to be the same. But maybe that's a good thing. The world wasn't in a really good shape anyway. And we got inspired by all this negativity about the new normal. And we posed a question, like, what if it's actually the opposite? What if this is actually the biggest opportunity ever to redefine what normal is, what we value, what we prioritize in our lives? So the beauty of this time is like we actually, for the first time ever, get to decide what normal really looks like and what we want it to be. The glass isn't half empty; it's half full. If we all make a difference, if we stay open to change. So we partnered with the British spoken word artist called George the Poet, and we put together all these lockdown realizations in a beautiful poem that we co-created together, that then became this film.
Stop. Wait. Who says we have to go back to normal? Back to anything? What if the new normal ain't the normal we knew, and we can't just do what we'd formerly do? What if the biggest change is you and me? What if we choose to be open and say, I will never call my job unimportant again. I'll never say the teacher's holidays are too long. Or that school is dry and I can't wait to move on. My ears are not my earphones.
What if I listen?
What if I'm missing how bright your eyes glisten? What if I just smile a bit, travel less and love every mile of it? What if I believe in the change, my cooking, my music and move? Hey, what if I don't dance, but just for you, I might give in to the rhythm soon. What if I refuse to be a stranger in my own living room? And I'll learn my lesson from a bad memory. And I'll keep social distance from bad energy. And I'll prove that funny, be sexy any day. But I'm still cute anyway. What if my dreams never take the back seat again? What if I'm there whenever you need a friend? What if I celebrate my skin, my body, my hair every day? Even Mondays. And I stand by every word I say. I'll make my vote count, make my voice heard today.
You know what?
I will
Never say the city has too many tourists again.
I'll lead like a woman. I'll have a family of dozens. I'll give my little nephews and nieces some cousins. I'll stay right beside you. I'll say yes, I do. See, I'll never forget how much stronger we are together. I'll carry that in my heart forever. We'll weather the storm. So I'll be open like never before.
So the poem, as you just saw, touches on different topics that we thought it was important to touch, such as parenthood and how that experience changed our relationship with your partners, if you have a partner at home. Also changed newly appreciated jobs, female leadership during the pandemic. We also had a point of view on the travel ban, and we just took this as an opportunity to see things from a completely different perspective, and say, okay, these might be seen as bad things, but actually, if you just look at it from a different side, it's actually quite positive if we can learn from all of this and say, hey, maybe actually I don't want to go back to to normal, to what my normal life used to be. I want to take all these learnings to make, life, my next life in 2021 or 2022, whenever that happens, better when it renew perspective and appreciation for things. The campaign was super well received. It was like the type of message that people needed to hear post wave one, after the lockdown. We had really good repercussions, but I always say, for me, I could actually show you like a lot of very big results for the campaign. But for me, achieving this KPI, like my mom actually calling me like in tears, because when she saw the campaign, my mom actually hates the fact that I live abroad and I live like so far away from her. So actually making her proud with the message and her understanding, the message and actually making it resonate with her. Like the person actually hates the most the fact that I live so abroad. Right now, for me, it was actually the most difficult to achieve. I never achieved this result with any other campaign that I did. So I wanted to touch on that. So wrapping up, this can be the biggest shit show ever, or can be the biggest reset ever, and for us too, as communicators. Are we going to make people sad about what they lost, or are we going to somehow empower them to make sense of this new reality, and inspire them to make the most out of it, and to get a fresh perspective and different learnings? If humanity had learned something, is that we have a lot more to learn. Let's stay open to the changes we're facing instead of fighting them. Let's embrace them. Let's learn from what is happening. History is being written by us this time, not by important men riding horses showing the way. For the first time in modern history, it's being written by us, and that's huge. The opportunity in that is huge. So we are in charge. It's up for us to define what this new normal should be. Let's make it better, more humble, and open like never before. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Lara. Very exciting speech, and congratulations on the campaign.
Thank you.
Well-deserved positive feedback, and also, quite inspirational. We'll be taking questions in the stage chat as well. If you want to send them in right now, I have a magic iPad that will receive them, and we can ask Laura and the speakers all evening. So please participate just as if you were here in the audience and I was throwing a microphone in a foam cube. Okay, so also, a great story about your mother calling you crying as well. So does that mean that you're going to leave 72 and Sunny and go back home to live? Or, how do you balance those sorts of things, the emotional connections and sort of the business realities? Or what would your advice be to other, communications people on that level?
Well, it's difficult. It's difficult, obviously. I always say I need to have a very strong reason to be here. Otherwise, I need to make it count too, like creating good work. Otherwise, it just doesn't really compensate the fact that you're like living so far away from your family. I mean, I've been living abroad for 10 years now, so I think they also got used to it, and I find other ways of being present. I became a master at that. I think I feel a lot more closer to them in a way than, when you're there, maybe you don't have really quality time or conversations. Now I really need to make it count, when I go there. So that's also nice.
Well, that's nice. So, but now, is there a conflict though? Like a lot of the themes that you mentioned there, relationships, parenthood, self-worth. A lot of those are a bit sort of, anti-consumer. Is how do you balance this sort of inward feelings which might come out of the pandemic with, still the desire to, make revenue and sell things. How does a brand balance that?
Well, obviously, it's advertising. There's always the aim of selling and making the brand obviously perform well on a business perspective. But I think all the brand purposes in all of these have changed a little bit, because I think it's like our collective purpose changed. So I feel there's a place always for everything, like there's a place, to give a nice message, and help people make sense of this new reality. And there's obviously a time to sell. For me right now, it's more important to, as big communicators, to bring some optimism and bring some positivity to all of this, and maybe the selling and more business-driven KPIs maybe in a second place.
Interesting. So would you say then should brands adapt or even change their core business now to be more relevant? Is this a time for that?
I think it's a time to reconsider. Thank you. I think it's a time to reconsider all brand purposes. I think everything has just been shaking up so much that I think it's a nice time to pause and reconsider and revise strategically a lot of things. Nobody saw this coming, really. So a lot of things, it happened to me too. Like I was working on big brand repositionings, and all of a sudden, overnight, nothing made any sense. So it's a good time to reevaluate and also to understand, where are we going? And at the end of all of this, are we actually going back to business as usual, or business actually have changed?
Are brands ready to receive this message, do you think?
I think so. I think they should.
Yeah, I think they should. I got a question here too. How can we as creators, marketers, producers, and as a brand create unity when the world is pushed to individualism?
That's a really good question. I think, as I was just mentioning, I think we've been pushed to individualism. At home, we've been pushed to do that. I think trying to understand what is, other ways of socializing, other ways of bringing people together, even if they are not together. I think there's a lot to learn on that aspect.
Okay. Well, Laura, thank you very much. It's nice to hear you beat the drum of optimism, because there's so many people that are being pessimists. So thank you for that. Congratulations again, and thank you for the speech here today.
Thank you.